Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Scratch a Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show and co-produced by Mr. Ivy, EST. I am the Dude.
And I am Grim. And today, we got to put it all aside. We're not going to let it go. We are going to let it be by the one and only Beatles. The third Beatles installment of our careers here on the Dude and Grim Show.
Yeah, it's. I feel pretty great about it.
A little gatefold action in the original. This is. I don't know if this is like the original pressing, like the year it came out or anything, but
it's the new original.
Yeah, it is definitely an old one, and it was one of the first Beatles albums I really got into because that was one of the ones in my dad's record collection that was actually unwrapped at the time.
Oh.
That so you could listen to. So like this one, Rubber Soul, the White Album, there were a lot of other ones that were wrapped up, but I could get into those ones.
Yeah. You know, I'm a fan of this album, and we're certainly not getting into rankings and stuff.
Not yet.
If I had to sort of rank like just off the top of my head, so what I call the mature period, which is basically for me is kind of like Rubber Soul on for them. This one, I mean, it's great. It's the Beatles, but I would say I do prefer like Sgt. Pepper, the White Album, Abbey Road, and even Revolver and Rubber Soul. I might even put, above this one as far as what I listen to.
Oh, I would put this one up there with like the White Album and maybe it was just because it was one that I had access to, but it's always been one of my favorites. I'm a big fan of Let It Be. I always have been. I think it is a very different Beatles album than
it is
any of the other ones. And we may have talked about this in a previous episode that looks at the movie Get Back. So if you haven't gone ahead and
subscribe and
go ahead and watch that and do that.
Yeah. We're gonna try not to overlap too much, but there will be some.
But there's gonna be some, and there's just some things you have to talk about in this one. One thing is that there's like apparently there's I want to say 3 versions of this album that you can listen to. Yeah, and then there's a fourth version that I've never heard, which was the version that Glenn Johns originally put together and brought to the band, and I guess they were not okay with it.
Yeah, and he actually remixed it and did it twice. And you can listen to one of the versions, at least I have it here on Spotify, I believe in the Super Enormo Domes Deluxe Edition. Yeah. They have a variety of mixes and stuff. But, Grim, kind of before we got sort of into the album, I wanted to kind of reorient ourselves and put some things in perspective here.
Oh, please do.
As far as like timing goes.
Oh, dude, the floor is yours.
They were on, a lot is made about them, especially during this album, not getting along. And this was kind of the beginning of the end, or maybe really the end of the end. But here's the deal. Just check this out. So from May to October of 1968, they record the White Album. It's released in November of 68. They begin recording Let It Be at Twickenham on January 1969. So they had November and December off before they were back in the studio again, recording Let It Be. They record that whole month. It's documented in the Get Back documentary. During that time, Yellow Submarine, like the soundtrack, is released. So that came out.
Oh, interesting.
During that January 13th, it came out.
Did not know that, dude.
Then February through August of 1969. They start recording Abbey Road, and then Abbey Road is released September 26, 1969. So, dude, within 1 year and 4 months, this is what they do. They record the White Album, release the White Album, record Let It Be, release Yellow Submarine, play the rooftop concert, release Yellow Submarine, record Abbey Road, and release Abbey Road. They do that in 1 year and 4 months.
That's pretty cool.
I mean,
that's almost like KGLW territory. Like,
dude, that is a lot to get done in a short period of time. And other than King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, unprecedented. Like today, like people wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And it does also say something that like these things that they got done during that period happen to be considered some of the most important pieces of rock and roll
music, art. Music
ever.
In general.
So yeah.
But you can understand, think about all that time they had working in the recording studio. And I know the White Album was kind of like everybody was doing different things.
Yeah.
But working together as a band, trying to have a life, cramming all that in within a year and 4 months, that's a lot. Like, no wonder they were just sick of each other. You know what I mean?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that the story that we're told in the history books, unless you dig a little deeper, is that John Lennon got with Yoko Ono and that ruined the band. Now, I don't think that to be true, because I think the Beatles would have dissolved whether Yoko Ono ever came into the picture or not. You had
help.
Sure, but I don't think it was the catalyst that did that, because I think even in years since, other people, I think even band members have said like everybody was already starting to go to their own paths anyways. And think about it, dude, George Harrison was probably frustrated as shit. Like you had said before he went to do like the whole Let It Be stuff, he had been in Woodstock for a while with the band and Bob Dylan, and like, had a lot of songs of his own, as evidenced by a triple LP that he released, I believe, the year after the Beatles broke up, called All Things Must Pass. Like, people wanted to have their own identities and not just be a Beatle forever, I think.
Well, and one thing, and to get back to the Get Back documentary.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. Yep. One thing that we didn't talk about actually in the episode, then I don't know if you caught this, it was a small little section, but they talked about, George says, he's like, the Beatles have been in the doldrums for at least a year. He said, ever since Mr. Epstein passed away, it's never been the same. Paul said, ever since he passed away, it's been negative. We lack discipline. There's no one, there really to kind of almost hold them accountable.
And for some reason, I guess I would have thought that George Martin would have like assumed that de facto role, even if Epstein had died. But yeah.
The thing with George Martin was the producer. He wasn't the manager. There is a big difference in that role there.
That's a great point.
There really is. So
it's a great point.
So yeah. So I don't know. We need to maybe reorient ourselves a little bit. But
so what do you think about some of these other now this is something I want to ask. Have you listened to Let It Be Naked?
Well, not only have I listened to it, dude, I can't believe you don't even remember. You guys got that on CD for me for my birthday in college.
I do vaguely remember that. I the only thing I can say, and this is not an excuse, it's just reality. I mean, number one, a lot has happened since that time to both my brain, life, and body. And
that's fair. That's fair. I guess it just stood out a little more to me. Thanks. But that dude,
no. I hear you got a birthday coming up pretty soon. And just wait till you see what happens for this one, my friend.
Oh, Larry, I can't wait. So here's the thing. There's controversy. We'll get into certain things that were done to the album Paul didn't love. Phil Spector was brought in. What I do like, I will say this: if you look at the track listing of Naked, I like that better now. And I will say I do, because it includes Don't Let Me Down. That's why. So essentially Naked, what they did was, as far as songs go, they got rid of Maggie May.
Shit, I forgot about that, because I have the Hey Jude Beatles record which has "Don't Let Me Down" on it. Oh, damn!
Which, when we get into the tracks, we both know that there's one song we would both scratch, and I'm sure we could replace it with that one.
Oh yeah, "Get Back" for easily.
Yeah,
no, I'm kidding.
No,
oh, dude, in all fairness, though, "Don't Let Me Down" was the B-side to the single of "Let It Be" when that was released.
Was that what it was, or was it?
I believe so. Oh, sorry, Get Back. Yeah, I believe you're right. It was the B-side to Get Back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, dude, I've heard, even the version that I listen to on Spotify is like the 2009 remastered version. Like, at this point, I literally, other than listening to the vinyl that you have right there, I don't know how I could find a version of the pressing, right? That was that, because everything's either been remastered. And now I believe the 2009 remastered is more of a cleaning as opposed to,
that's how I would take it too, trying to remix it.
Not a remix.
Yeah.
So I still felt like the integrity was sort of kept. But yeah, I understand Paul. He was the big driving force behind the Naked album in 2003. And I can't tell you, I don't remember a ton more of it. But what he did essentially is he stripped it back down to what it was meant to be. Got rid of strings and overdubs and things that they put in.
I'm glad that you talked about this, because until I watched Get Back and read about this album, I didn't really think about it, because this album was what I knew Let It Be to be. So I never really second guessed it. I mean, that's just how the album was, right?
Yeah.
But then one comment really struck me, which was, I believe it was George Martin who had said in an interview, they should have written on this album that it was produced by George Martin and overproduced by Phil Spector.
That was
amazing. I was like, I know,
because they didn't give him credit or Glenn Johns credit for producing this album. It's like they should have given him producing credit. Fine, give what's his name mixing credit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Phil Spector mixed it and he paid for an orchestra. Now, with that said, I want to give some of my opinions here, and we're not going into the songs yet. I'm just going to I will reference some of the songs, but I know that there's always been a lot of controversy about this. But at the same point, it's interesting to me because you have these big instances of overproduction, but at the same time, you have some of the most stripped down the Beatles have ever sounded. Two of Us, Dig a Pony, Dig It, Maggie May, One After 909. I mean, there's some pretty raw stuff. Even For You Blue, dude. I always thought For You Blue, they used some sort of a cheap little filter kind of thing, like a fake piano, like this little keyboard. Yeah. But when you watch Get Back and you realize they took newspaper and wove it in between the piano strings, right? To mute it, and I re-listened to it. I was like, okay, I have a new appreciation for that because it was actually the real piano, and they wanted to make it sound cheap, and it wasn't some little synth.
Yeah.
But I think the strings and some of the embellishments work in certain instances. One of those being Across the Universe. I think Across the Universe is beautiful with the choral arrangement in there, and the wah-wah guitar still comes through when it should. It totally works for me on that. One song where I never really noticed it until I listened to it, and I listened to it twice before we did this while I was making dinner and eating dinner. Yeah. And dude, I Me Mine could really, even if they kept the strings for some depth, you could tone those down to about half of what they're at, and that song could stand on its own.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
Let It Be, honestly, I would like to hear the version of Let It Be that was the single version. But, dude, I am quite okay with the version of Let It Be that goes on the album. One of the things that I know that people criticize about it is that they say the guitar solo, Phil Spector bumped up, they felt like a little loud. Okay. But when I was just listening to either a music podcast or reading something, and for some reason, I feel like it was... what's his name? Dude, the architect of hip hop, Rick Rubin. I feel like Rick Rubin said something to the effect of like, sometimes in a mix you have to like bump something up almost uncomfortably loud for it to really be heard. And I felt like that was true with the guitar solo and Let It Be, and I'm okay with it.
I gotcha.
Not even going to get into the Long and Winding Road, and I think that's really those are some of the main ones that I think the strings were used on. I guess I Me, Mine, and Across the Universe to me are the ones to talk about because one, I'm into it, and one, I'm not as much.
Yeah, so what I had read is that 7 of the tracks on the album were released in accordance to the original project. So it was essentially recorded either, and I have a bunch of them in my notes, but it was either recorded on the roof or it was recorded essentially by the original project. What I mean is that there's no editing, splicing, or overdubs. And there's 4 tracks that they're saying that do have it. The 4 tracks that they say that had it were For You Blue, I Me Mine, Let It Be, and Long and Winding Road. Those are the ones They say editing, splicing, and overdubs.
That had all those things?
Yeah. But then there's strings and stuff, and like we just talked about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, dude, they forgot about I Me, Mine, and Across the Universe because both of those have string sections and choir and all this stuff. I feel like just the Hammond organ alone. Now, I think we just got to get to the tracks for that part.
I think we got to get to the tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, in general. Okay, go.
All right. So
now, dude.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I was gonna say you, and I'm pointing at the camera so you can see this. You talked about this as not being one of your, or maybe not one of your favorite Beatles albums. I remember 2 dudes in college who played this album. I'm not going to say in its entirety, but we really gave it a run for its money. We played it all the way through. I would play guitar. We would both sing.
You were like Paul Simon. I was more like Art Garfunkel.
Yeah, but still. I mean, dude, we performed Let It Be. It was before the Dude and Grimm show, before any of this. And 2 of us was one of my favorite ones to play.
Dude, here's the thing. It doesn't mean it's like the whole scratch a track. It's like, it doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means, okay, I prefer Sgt. Pepper, Abbey Road, and the White Album, probably Revolver. I just like those albums over this.
I know, but we can't perform those ones live.
No, we can't. But there's a reason we can perform this one live because it's stripped down. So, anyways.
We usually do the Let It Be naked version, just saying.
We do the naked version, but we have our clothes on.
Yeah.
So on track number 1, 2 of Us. This was recorded in the basement studio.
Yep.
So this is one.
And the day after the rooftop concert, because they show that.
Okay.
Yeah, they show that in the end credits and Get Back. They're like, this is the version that appears on Let It Be, and it's like the day after footage.
Dude, I just, to me, this is just such like a nice sort of fun, pleasant song. It just kind of rolls along. It has a happy-go-lucky feel. Some of the words are really great. You and me chasing paper, getting nowhere, and then we're going home. We're going home.
I would honestly say not even one of my favorite Beatles songs. One of my favorite songs. I think this is just a wonder. Like it to me, it feels like warmth and family and friends. Like it just, it has such a good feeling to it. This song.
It's got this little folky kind of feel to it, and I just love the acousticness of it. It's just a nice simple kind of clean song. It's very Paul.
And it is, but I enjoyed watching him record it because the two, like Paul and John, are playing acoustic, and George Harrison's playing his electric, but he's playing those low notes and kind of sliding around with them that almost sound like it was a bass playing in the higher register, but he's on a guitar playing in the lower register.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you dig a pony? I dig a pony.
Dude, I really dig it. Like I said,
this is one of those songs I feel like that it doesn't get talked about enough for being like a great Beatles song, because it wasn't a single, and a lot of people, you know, they would know a lot of the other songs before they would know this one on the album. And man, it is just a fantastic song. It starts off kind of like even nasty, right? And just it's got this
little gritty
feel to it. Yeah,
I think it's one of the best John Lennon songs that's ever been written.
100%, man. It's great, dude. I'm a huge fan of it.
And I like the lyrics. The lyrics, like, they make sense. They're almost like Dylan lyrics to me. They, you know, they're just kind of a little weird, but they make sense.
And now this one was recorded from the rooftop.
Yeah, and they cut it.
Which, dude, if you listen to this song though, because to be honest, dude, I'd listened to the song for years and years and years, and I was never like, oh, they recorded this. Like, it sounds great.
I know, but here's the thing that I realize, and you realize about their recording process and the technology at hand. Like, I think about it and I'm like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that everyone didn't have their own track? And they didn't. I mean, honest to God, this may have been something where it was like you had all the vocal mics going into one track and they mixed them beforehand or mixed them a little bit on the fly
live,
and you had like all, you know, like the drums going into one and the rest of the instruments going into another, and it just speaks to me volumes of like the engineering they had available at the time, because you could convince me that it was like, oh, yeah, you recorded it track by track by track, but it was outside and it was in the winter and things were a little, you know, but it just...
But to be able to, I mean, I don't know, from where this recording process kind of started when they first moved into Apple Studios to basically getting really, really good recordings.
I know.
Recording in the basement while they're performing up on the roof is just,
I know.
I mean,
it's awesome. It's a lot of cable. A lot of cable.
A lot
miles
of cable.
You go to the moon and back twice.
Probably. All right. So, speaking of outer space,
going to the moon,
universe.
Across the universe.
Yeah.
Now this was recorded. I don't know if they actually, because there's another version of this that you can hear on Past Masters Volume 2, or I think it may be on the Hey Jude record that I have. Past Masters, yeah. But the other version that I've heard actually sounds to me like they sped up the tape on it.
So that's exactly what happened. If you read about it, like they said something about in the wiki, they either went because what's in the key of D or something.
Yes, it is. And this one on Let It Be to me sounds like the key of D.
Yeah, and then they even said in the wiki that they did speed it up on this song, because I believe this version was even recorded in Twickenham.
Oh, really?
Is where it was recorded. I think.
No, they sped it up on this version or that other version, like the nature version with the. Because
I don't remember. I think on this version. But I might be wrong. I could swore I saw the light coming on. Anyways, let's not get bogged down in that. It's either way, it's sped up. But you're right. There is the version with the birds and everything. Yeah.
So, dude, I mean mine. Next one.
Dude, so George gets 2 songs an album, right? And this is one of them.
Seriously, a bullshit deal. Like, no wonder he got pissed.
Yeah, I'd be pissed. Well, he talks about in the Get Back documentary. Did you see that in part 3 where he's like kind of sitting on the floor and him and John and Yoko, and he even says like, he was like, I think, I might just put out an album. I've got all these songs. And John's kind of like, oh, you mean on your own? And he was like, yeah, I mean, just to get these songs like out of the way. essentially, is what he was saying. He's got so many of them. Well, and they were like, yeah, you should kind of do it.
And there's some. I mean, he's got the apple jam. He's got It's Johnny's Birthday. Thanks for the pepperoni. So he does, get some stuff out of the way. But I think I Be Mine was one where the Let It Be Naked version is better because that song can stand on its own without all the strings and the choir and shit. But again, being that was the version that I knew, I never thought like, oh my God, this is so grossly overproduced growing up, because that's just the version you knew.
That's how you heard it for your whole life. Yeah. Well, dude, did you, when I was listening to it the first time, I was like, oh man, dude, I really like the, cause it's the Hammond organ. Oh, right. And I was like, man, I really, really like the sound of that. And I was like, oh, Billy tore it up. Then I started looking through the credits, dude. Paul McCartney is credited with playing Hammond organ on the song.
Well, and that may have been, and because like I had said earlier, they did this recording or finished this recording when John had already officially left the band. Like you won't, like he's not on this track. And one thing I'm glad you brought this up, and this is definitely the nerd in me, so apologize for that one. But regarding the Hammond organ in this, you would expect that the Beatles would have access to the best of the best of what was available to them at the time. Now, I noticed that in the Get Back documentary, they had a Lowry organ in the studio, which is something I've never owned. And I know the band used Lowry organs a lot and really liked them and had it hooked up to the Leslie speaker. And then they brought in a Hammond organ. But they did not bring in the full-size Hammond organ that I have behind me, which would be either a B3, C3, or A100. They brought in this version called an M100, which is more like it's just a smaller version of it. It sounds great. It's a great organ. I used to own an M100 and bring it out. I put like a clear back panel on it and played it live. Great organ. But I'm just like, how did they not get like the full thing? It's the Beatles. It's not like a garage band.
I'm wondering, well, one, again, I don't know any of these things. One, could part of it be because of space? Two, could it be maybe that's what Billy Preston wanted? Or three, when did that come out? Was that like,
oh dude, it was out. It was out.
Okay, it's been out. Yeah, because I thought, maybe question. It's like the new thing.
No. That is no question.
That. Okay.
I can't imagine it's what Billy Preston would have preferred, because the full-sized Hammonds just offer you more in terms of what you can do with the tone. So I just wonder if it was an availability issue. Really dumb thing. I know that the Hammond M100 was used on Procol Harum's Whiter Shade of Pale song, which I know Paul McCartney was a big fan of. Maybe that had something to do with it. If you know,
possible.
This is the time to tell us when you go ahead and
like, subscribe, and comment below.
Should we move it along here?
Yeah, dude.
All right, track number 5, Dig It. Now, this is a song, Grim, that it's, I mean, okay, I'll call it a song, but essentially it's a snippet. And now the version on the Let It Be album is about 50 seconds, 52 seconds, something like that. I wish
it was more.
And now here's the thing, on the Glenn Johns version that he had done for them in 1960, he did a 4-minute version.
I would like to hear that one.
You can hear that on the deluxe edition. Now, didn't you at one point have like an 8-minute version of it?
I still have it, dude. It's the whole thing.
It's 8 minutes, right?
It's the whole thing. It's over 8 minutes. In fact, well, I can't pull it up at the moment, but I can tell you it's over 8 minutes. And it's like, dude,
I remember that.
It's the whole thing. And it's really interesting because as you listen to it, you can hear where they pulled out that 50 minutes or 50-second segment. And they didn't cut it up. I mean, it is what it is. And they just kind of, worked around it and stuff. But, dude, I love that song. That is maybe my favorite song on the album.
Like a Rolling Stone.
And I love in Get Back when they're showing all the footage of them doing this. Dude, they show them doing a version of Dig It where John Lennon is basically just singing the song titles of what they're going to play. And he's like, the long and winding road. No. You know, like it's
dude,
awesome.
Doesn't he start singing like the notes that they play in the song?
Yeah. At the end of it,
he's
he's like, A flat. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. It's even for, I'm sure a lot of Beatles fans have heard it. It's interesting that there was like, there's this version, there's a 4-minute version, and there's apparently, and then the 8-minute version that we know of. So it's kind of
I'm
cool.
really glad I have that 8-minute version. And honest to God, I don't know, like the internet is the one thing that allowed me to find that, because you can't find it on any
LimeWire.
It's not on, the anthology. It's not on any of that stuff.
I looked on the Spotify like deluxe edition, super deluxe edition, and they didn't have the full one either. So,
but you know who can send it to you? This dude,
the Dude and Grim Show.
So
okay, track number 6 of side 1, "Let It Be." Probably, it's probably one of the Beatles' most famous songs. And probably the most, I know Get Back was like the first single, but overall,
this is the one you remember.
Even non-Beatles fans know Let It Be, right?
Dude, I have always loved the song Let It Be. I've always just thought it was an awesome song, but I didn't understand the context of it. And apparently it was something that Paul McCartney wrote about his mother who had died when he was a child. And his mother's name was Mary. And it was about a dream that he had about all this stress and stuff. And his mother came to him and tried to help relieve this stress. And when you think about it in that context, I feel like it makes it even more beautiful.
Wow. I had no idea about that. It certainly does. It takes on kind of a whole new meaning at that point.
It really does. And that's, I don't know, that's where I've always loved that song, but that made me appreciate it even more to have read that.
Yeah. No,
I like the loud guitar solo that Phil Spector does. I think Billy Preston's Hammond organ work is great. And I also like the choir on this one. Like, as much as, you get the Phil Spector overproduced thing, I think it works in this song too.
Right. Well, so apparently John Lennon, because they did this was one of the ones they did in the basement, live.
No, it was on that last day. They showed the clips from it. Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
So the thing is, though, is John Lennon's playing the bass in that. But then afterwards, George Martin said, "No, Paul, you need to redo it," and so Paul redid it. But there's also, so George Harrison did 2 solos for this song at 2 different times, and those solos, one was used in the single and one is used on the album version. They used 2 different of his solos.
Oh, that's interesting. And the one is the album version. I'm sorry, that's the one that gets played.
Yeah, that's the one that definitely gets played. So
I'd actually like to hear the single version now as we talk about it, because I'm sure I have at some point, but I can't or wouldn't remember it.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
all right. Well, we finished side 1 with a little track called Maggie May.
Even shorter than Dig It.
Yeah, it's a short little outro. They said it's the second shortest Beatles song. Next to Her Majesty.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's a kind of a fun little outro for side 1, I guess.
It's it's a folk song.
Yeah, and it is. They say it's a traditional Liverpool folk song about a prostitute who robbed a homeward bounder.
And I like that. I don't know. There's just something about it I've always liked. I like that rawness. To me, it goes back with the rawness of having some cuts off the rooftop and 2 of us, it kind of plays into this dichotomy of these hugely produced songs and some of them that are just so raw.
Right. Well, it's even cool. It's just like kind of funny subject matter too, because you think of the Beatles and they're all clean and everything. And that's one thing that I really liked about Get Back is like you see them get pissed at each other. You see them swearing, they're smoking, they're doing all this stuff. And it's like, wow, you actually do get a real glimpse in sort of to who they are as opposed to, back in the day when they were kind of mop tops. It's pretty cool.
I love the amount of smoking in Get Back, the movie. Like, there's a lot of smoking. Everyone tries to filter that shit from the old days like it didn't happen, but I love the fact that you can't do that, and everyone is always smoking. There's a recording console that probably costs in today's market like $500,000, and they have cigarettes and ashtrays on it and a fucking incense stick in it. Like the care for the equipment. Like, I wouldn't dare be in the same room as something like that. Like, even this limited amount of stuff that I'm around now, I wouldn't dare smoke around it. And they're just like, I'm amazed the camera could even see through the room.
Yeah, right. It is interesting, and I did say that's kind of one of those things. You just feel a little bad because I see George smoking a lot, and that didn't turn out too well for him. So
but it's interesting nonetheless.
It is. So flip the side, Grim. This is where the flip is,
dude. And
start with I Got a Feeling.
Oh, right from the rooftop, baby. Woo.
I've got a feeling. One thing I like about this song is I like how John and Paul kind of trade lyrics and parts back and forth, because they do. I'm trying to think. I know they've done that before. I think in song. Well, they do it in A Day in the Life,
but not like this.
This is so.
This
much
is almost
more,
like a conversation,
fluid. It's
as opposed to parts. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's such a good song. It just dude, could you imagine this song without that hot piano riff?
No. Oh, dude, it's so badass, man. It's good stuff.
The fifth Beatle, dude.
Yeah, but then, dude, Lennon's line, everyone's had everyone's had a hard year, right? Just his lyrics on this song are just like really, really good.
I love how he throws in a wet dream too, because
a wet dream.
He doesn't swear. But just saying that is something that would make a lot of people really uncomfortable. And I like the fact that he just throws it in there.
Yeah, and he was at that point in life where he was like, oh, it's great. Yeah.
I had one too. I had to wash my sheets. I said what
I said.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Because obviously, anyways. So, track number nine.
Dude, which is great that yeah.
Well, dude, John Lennon even said he was like, I think he had written the song when he was 17, but he had always had this like association with the number 9, and maybe that's why
number 9.
But he said he lived at 9 Newcastle Road. He was born on October 9th. So just things like that. He's like, yeah, this number's just kind of followed me around. Like,
well, I like it cool too, because to me it's funny, because as you go through like the period of them recording this in the documentary, they play a lot of old rock and roll standards that they probably cut their teeth on, and then for them to write a song in that vein is just like fitting. And I love that they took the live version from the rooftop. And dude, it really has good, that grit when it comes in with that, it's got the right amount of grit.
Dude, the song, to be honest, it just fits the feeling and the mood so well. Like if it had been recorded in a studio, it wouldn't have sounded as good. It wouldn't have that same richness and character. So,
and dude, Billy Preston on it is, of course, just amazing.
Billy Preston. Amazing.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to comment on, when you look at like their live setup and what they're playing at the rooftop concert, which is what this was taken from, I saw a wah pedal in the background.
Yeah.
Didn't look like it was plugged in. So they just have the raw sound of their amps. They all have Fender amps. It looks like Paul has the Bassman, John has what looks like a twin reverb, and George has what looks like, it looks a little smaller than a twin reverb. Maybe it's like a Vibrolux reverb. But it's interesting to me that, like, dude, you got like Vox, who's made classic amps in England forever, but they have all this American shit. George is playing that Telecaster. You know, like all their stuff is not English. I don't know. Because Vox amps, they're really good amps. I don't know if Marshall had already come out by that time, but it always just fascinated me because, like, I always loved their guitar sounds, and I'm like, oh my God, they're just playing through a twin reverb with no effects, no nothing, just raw sound.
Nothing. Raw. Just a raw sound.
Raw dog.
Raw life. All right. Move on to the next track, Grim. This might be the track that started Scratch a Track. Who knows?
That's a bold statement, but you're not wrong.
I don't think I'm wrong. So, we have The Long and Winding Road.
We do.
And I know both you and I feel very strongly about this song. And I found it interesting.
Paul felt strongly, too.
Yeah. But I think he didn't like how... he didn't like what Spector did to it.
I know, but he made it more cheese dick.
Yeah.
You know?
It's... I think, well, I don't know if we want to, you know, we'll get into it, but yeah, I mean, he, you know, Spector added the orchestra and the choral arrangement, and, you know, but John at that point, you know, they were not, you know, probably on very good speaking terms. You know, he defended the decision, and I don't know, Now, I did listen to the version on Let It Be Naked, and I do understand Paul's vision for it to just be a piano ballad. Now, with that said, I almost think you could have taken the song as purely a piano ballad without even the rest of the Beatles in there. And to me, it would have been more meaningful as just that than just that.
All this other shit.
Trying to fit everybody in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know. Yeah, I don't want to. Do we want to spoil anything or?
No. So For You Blue.
For You Blue.
Like
George gets a second track.
Yeah, thank God. Now, I honestly thought, as I mentioned earlier, that like when they played that cheesy piano, I thought it was some stupid like patch in an organ that's supposed to sound like a mandolin or some bullshit, but they actually just like weaved newspaper in and out of the piano or whatever to really mute it. And I thought that was cool because you could hear them in the documentary. They're saying like George Harrison's like, I want it to sound like the old Chicago blues records where like everything was just kind of not there. Like they didn't have a Bluthner piano and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it was funny, man, because as I was listening to this song and kind of doing my notes and everything here, I was just like, you know, I was like, man, this sounds like something that he would have come up with when he was with Dylan in the band, like in Woodstock before he came back. I was like, man, it really sounds like that. And then I started reading about the song, like reading the notes and stuff about the song.
Yep, that's my note.
And it was said, like Harrison said, that it was influenced about his time in Woodstock.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was actually written there, but it was at least his experience there, you know, with those guys that helped influence it. But the song was actually written as a love song to Pattie Boyd, his wife.
Oh, that's cool. Who then Layla was written about later. But
man.
I believe
2 songs.
I believe.
Who's to say?
Yeah. So I like it, and I do like it how when they're kind of in the middle of playing solos and stuff, he says Elmore James got nothing on this one because Elmore James is a famous, you know, bluesman. But Get Back.
Yeah. Well, first single, last song. Ironically enough, this was supposed to be the self-titled track because the album initially, when Glenn Johns was mixing it and everything, it was actually the album was called Get Back. I mean, dude, awesome song. You see this song gets played a ton.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the Get Back documentary, but you really see it progress a ton. And I mean,
I like how they kind of started with the slap and
yeah.
I mean, it has such a nice build up. And dude, wouldn't be shit without Billy Preston.
No, Billy Preston.
Yeah.
Dude, this might be him at his best. On this album, man. I mean, it's so
just
good.
that piano part, and then it's funny when they play it on the rooftop like 3 times, and at least 2 of those times he plays like other piano parts that could have went with it. Every time I heard him, I was like, that could have been the solo. That could have been the solo. You know, like
right. All right, he nailed it again.
Yep,
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Different, but equally amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was interesting how you see them earlier in the documentary and they're kind of working out the song, really trying to get the tempo of the song in the intro right. But I think they finally got it when he just slapped the bass like that. Slap the bass.
But I think I don't even think it was just slapping the bass. I think like John started out kind of slapping the guy. And then when they get that,
dude, when the song hits, it's awesome. But did you hear the version that they had when he was like singing the protest lyrics and everything? Because initially this was supposed to be kind of like a protest song.
I like where they took it better.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, that's interesting, but no, I like how I've always heard it.
So, dude, with that in mind, let's get to the part. I'm itchy. I need a scratch, my man.
All right. Well, I imagine nothing has changed for either of us. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and just blow the overtime horn now and tell the fine folks out there.
Yeah, just call that a big fat. Okay.
So for all you fans and folks out there,
we already knew this was going to happen. As we said, we performed this album live, so
exactly. So we may not always agree, right? We may not always agree on the tracks.
We're pretty goddamn.
It is just a no-brainer. The long
and winding road. Get rid of it.
It is to me. I just literally can't stand this song. It's a sad song, but I love a sad song.
And dude, it's actually it's a really well written song. I just don't dig it that much.
Yeah, I don't like the way. To me, I don't really like the way he sings it.
No, dude. In all honesty, really if it were me, I would take that. I would take that out of there. Move. Hell, I might even move Let It Be and Maggie May to side B at that point.
Yeah, well, and I'd bring in Don't Let Me Down. That's what I would do.
Oh, and put that on the end of side 1.
Hell
yeah, dude. After Dig It.
Yeah, I mean, because here's another reason too.
Is there a thing where I can just like submit these tracks and repress it as like the new vinyl? I love that when you could do that with CDs because, dude,
it'd be great.
I think that we should ask the fans below. Dude, tell us what your version of Let It Be
like, subscribe, and comment below.
Yeah.
And if you would include Don't Let Me Down, because I certainly would.
Oh, hell yeah, I would.
But another reason to scratch it is, do we need 2 Paul piano ballads on an album? I mean, I feel like that's kind of a lot, man.
Dude, I see your point, but like, don't put Let It Be in the same category as that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We don't need that. So you can get rid of one of them. And the obvious
Let It Be is. I'm sorry, Let It Be is just gorgeous.
Yeah, of course. So now that we've gone into overtime,
and we're kind of in like extra innings.
Are you? I'm curious. I mean, I don't think you're gonna scratch Dig It. I'm wondering.
God,
are you gonna?
The fuck is wrong with you? No, I'm not gonna scratch Dig It. Jesus.
Will you take the low hanging fruit with Maggie May, or are you gonna go with a meatier track?
I'd scratch For You Blue.
Ooh, So George, the guy
Dude,
you're just like, he doesn't get enough songs.
I know.
So you're just cutting George out. You're cutting him out.
Well, dude,
He's got better songs though. He's got much better.
He does,
songs
and I think George was like, you know what, I can dump this one on this album, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and work on a little thing called All Things Must Pass, and really kind of blow everyone out, because not everyone has Thanks for the Pepperoni in their fucking repertoire.
They certainly don't. So my next song that I scratch, I think it's going to be a controversial one. And I do actually really, really love the song. It would be easy to take Maggie May, but I feel like that's just not a full scratch. I just feel like that's too easy.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I could just say that one, but if I had to scratch what I consider a real song, and I do love the song, and it is a fan favorite, dude, Across the Universe.
Oh.
So here's the thing. I kind of feel like it doesn't fit the album. I feel like it kind of doesn't fit the sound and the mood of the album to me. Because I think about Dig a Pony, I Me Mine, not Let It Be as much, but I've Got a Feeling, One After 909, Get Back. All these songs have this real, just kind of like, sort of a gritty rawness to it. And Across the Universe, I feel like doesn't have that. Now, Two of Us doesn't have that either, but I love Two of Us. So that's me.
I'm kind of dumbfounded right now, dude. I honestly even started writing in my notebook the time because I thought that you were going to scratch Let It Be.
Oh, no.
And my obvious response is going to be like, wow, dude, you're gonna, oh, dude, for sure. And I'm like, oh yeah, why don't you just go ahead and scratch the title track? Maybe you could just re-record the album while you're at it. But as much as I don't agree with that, because I love that song,
I love it too. That's the thing,
dude. But that's the thing. I can't agree, or I can't disagree rather with your.
It wasn't
position on it. Like I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't recorded on the rooftop. It wasn't really like that.
I know,
classic, like kind of this basement recording. I believe, dude. I would need to look at again. Like part of it, like either the acoustic part or whatever, was done in Twickenham. But I'm not 100%
dude,
sure. There's something about it that just doesn't quite fit in there.
Now, man. I love it because I love the song, but dude,
I love it too.
I understand. I was ready to flip you off, but I'm so glad we didn't have to.
Oh, God, me too. The show can go on. We will be here for, well, at least get to episode 200 before we call it canceled. Yeah. So whenever we get there. All right.
That, dude.
Well, everyone... yeah, good.
Fair point.
Yeah. Fair point.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as my scratch on Nonagon Infinity. I mean, remember what that did? That just your head exploded.
Was it Mr. Beat?
I forget the name of the song. I was like, it's my favorite song on the album, and it's the one I
think it was Mr. Beat, and I was like, you dick.
I know.
All right.
Okay. So, everyone, please go ahead and be pissed at us. Let us know how crazy we are for scratching, of course. Just like most people, I wouldn't scratch anything. It's perfect. Yeah, we know. But that's not how you play the game. So let us know what you guys would scratch. Let us know kind of what you think about this album, what you thought about the documentary. Would you put Don't Let Me Down on it? If you could reconstruct the album, what would you guys do? Would you want the 8-minute version of Dig It?
I would.
The 4-minute version.
So tell us below.
Because it's time to go on
The Dude and Grim Show. Scratch a Track is produced by The Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by More. That's ... MORE. And the Tims, TIMNZ. Copyright 2020 to The Dude and Grim Show.